When the Pharisees heard that he had silenced the Sadducees, they gathered together. And one of them, an expert in the law, asked him a question to test him. "Teacher, which commandment in the law is greatest?" He said to him, "You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your mind. This is the greatest and first commandment. And a second is like it. You shall love your neighbour as yourself. On these two commandments hang all the law and the prophets." This is the gospel of the Lord.
Thanks be to God.
Very unusual for everybody else in life to be taller than me.
You're not getting jealous, are you?
A little bit.
So may I speak and may we heard in the name of God, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen. So how many people were at Pride yesterday? Can I get a bit of a cheer if you were at Pride yesterday? A few of you, that's brilliant, that's okay. That means I can recycle lots of myself. No, I'm not recycling myself, I promise you. But we had the same meeting yesterday at Pride. And yesterday we were thinking about actually what it means to be an LGBT person and actually what it means to be part of that community. But I'd like to tell you a little bit of a story, a little bit actually something which came up at lunch and something which is being repeated actually multiple times in conversations which were had at Pride yesterday. Growing up as an LGBTQ plus person is quite lonely. Growing up being different is very lonely. Growing up as a trans person, not knowing that you are trans, not understanding what these feelings are, is really confusing. And actually, it's something that Adam, Jay and I were talking about at lunchtime. Actually, there's more representation now, and actually you can see LGBTQ plus people on television, you see them in the media, generally in a positive light. Growing up, we didn't have that. And so you grow up in a sphere of isolation. You grow up not knowing quite where you fit in, but knowing that you're different, and you're different to everybody else, or you seem to be different to everybody else. And eventually, you can find the rest of the community. Eventually, we kind of come together, and actually we bond together. And actually, this is why Pride is so important. This is why we celebrate Pride. It's because we're coming together as a community to support one another, to actually recognise that we are, in a very weird, disjointed way, a form of type of family. But actually, there's another part to Pride which actually is which we need to think about. And this is why I really want to kind of put my focus today. And that is what everybody else can do. Because the LGBTQ community, actually we come together and we support each other. One of the amazing things which I saw yesterday was the number of trans rights banners which were being held up by different groups. And that was wonderful, that was amazing. What
Pass.
But actually what you can do is the non-LGBT community is allyship. Being an ally is not something which you say, well, I'm an ally, and call yourself done, because it doesn't work like that. To be an ally, you have to prove yourself. Being an ally doesn't mean you turn up to Pride yesterday and you say, right, woo, yes, that's it, you're done. Because actually being gay, being LGBTQ+, isn't for a day, or for 2 days, or for a weekend. It is for life. And so too must our allyship. We must come together to support the marginalised in our society. We must come together and say, actually, I'm going to be there to support you and love you and show compassion to you. And that's where our reading comes into this. We hear Jesus being tested, we hear him he's being tested by someone who's learned in the law of the Jews, someone who's a biblical expert. And he said, Jesus, come on then, what's the most important thing that we should be doing? And there are lots of, within the Jewish community, there are about 625 different rules, all of them have different levels of importance. And so this person, this learned person, is trying to say, come on then, what's the most important one? Let's see how clever you really are. And Jesus sums up our faith in 2 sentences. He sums up our faith regardless of our denomination, if we're Church of England, if we're Catholic, if we're Methodist, if we're Baptist, it doesn't matter. If we believe in Jesus Christ, we need to believe in these 2 statements. We must love God with our heart, mind, body and soul. And we must love our neighbour as ourselves. Now this is my challenge to everybody here, not just those who are cis-het, i.e. those who are not in the LGBT community, but actually those who are as well. We need to show our ally to one another. We need to show that love of neighbour. Now, if this was easy, Sam and I wouldn't have to stand up every Sunday and kind of talk as some version of this. We wouldn't have to even think about it, and to be fair, Jesus wouldn't have to say, this is what you're supposed to do, because it would be obvious. And to be fair, it should be obvious. It should be a case of, hang on a second, this is really, really straightforward. But it's also a challenge. Because you've met people, right? People are hard to like at times. Even our holy, possible new president who got shot yesterday, he's hard to like. But he's still loved by God. Everybody you meet, everybody you see is your neighbour. Everybody you hear about, everybody you see on television is your neighbour. Even if you violently disagree with them, they are your neighbour and they are loved by God. All these people are loved by God. Those in the LGBTQ plus community are loved by God. And so we need to show that love of neighbour and that allyship every single day of the year. It is a challenge. It is hard work. And you may well end up saying, you know what, I don't agree with this person. I don't like this person. But you still have to love them. Who has got a big family? Stick your hand up, you've got a large family. Just stand. That's okay.
That's definitely not true. We are shy.
You will not always agree with the family, is that right? Yeah? We have disagreements with family, don't we? Sometimes we argue with family. But we do agree we have to love them, because they're family. So this is what Jesus is talking about. When he says that you should love your neighbour, love them like family. You can disagree with them, you can have an argument with them, but you still need to show that love for them. And actually, if you disagree with them, you need to pray for them even harder, and you need to pray for yourself as well. And say, no, maybe I'm wrong. This is a challenge. And it is a challenge, and it is hard work, and it is going to be a really tough thing. Occasionally, we're going to slip. We all will. We'll all get it wrong occasionally. We'll all say, I really hate that person. They are such a... Yeah. Things like that. I'm wearing a collar, I can't say it. But you know exactly what I mean. There'll be people who just really upset you, really annoy you. But you have to say, hang on a second, they're loved by God and they are my neighbour. And maybe they're wrong and you're right. Maybe you're wrong and they're right. But you need to hold them in your prayers. And you need to keep them in your prayers. And say, I'm not going to forget them just because I disagree with them. Because just as we disagree with our families, we have massive arguments with our families, and yet we don't forget them. We have to do the same for our neighbours, our marginalised communities, all those who are ethnic minorities, those within the LGBTQ plus community. Because growing up and being isolated and being on your own is horrible. It's like growing up without your family. And so we need to recognise that actually those who are coming together, who are trying to form communities, they need that love. They need that support. They need that allyship. A lot of you have got stickers on today which are being handed out, which is really cool. It says, love never fails. Love never fails. Just think about that. When we show love for another person, it won't fail. It won't. It will actually build the other person up and it enlarges us and enlarges them in a positive way. When we show hate, what happens? It eats away at our soul. It eats away at us. It starts to damage us and it damages the other person as well. And there are those who are consumed with hatred, and all that happens is they get damaged because of it. So I want you to shed any hatred you have for other people. Just drop on the floor in front of you. You don't need it. Pick up that love, pick up that challenge of loving other people, and carry on with that. Hold on to that. I'll give you an example just to summarise this. Sam and I were on the bus at the end of Friday yesterday heading back. We had a ridiculously long day. Been on a few for most of it, been chatting to loads of people, had some really good, really in-depth conversations. And there was a drunk lady on the bus who decided to have a go at me just before she got off the bus, saying, I wasn't a real woman, wasn't a real hooker. She had no person doing that apart from hatred. We hadn't done anything to her, we weren't talking to her, we just left her be. But she'd been consumed by hate. And because of that, she tried to pour that hate onto us. It's not going to work. Because for the whole day, I had thousands and thousands of people coming and talking to me and actually sharing that love today. That's what allyship is. That's what support and loving your neighbour is. It gives you that armour, so actually when somebody's horrible to you, you're not going to break down. You're not going to suffer because of it. You're going to say, actually you're wrong. I know you're wrong because actually for the past day, I've had thousands of people coming and talking to me and actually affirming who I am. So if you want to be a good ally, if you want to be able to earn that ally badge, you need to do that. Offer that love to other people. Offer that love to the marginalised in society, to our LGBT plus community. Keep on doing what you're doing here. We have an affirming church. This is a rare thing. To have a church that actually you can turn up and say, actually come to big and say, you know what, I think I might be gay, or I might be lesbian, or I might be trans, or I might be bi, or I just have no idea, but there's something weird about me that's different. And know that the vicar's going to say, it's okay, you're loved. That is an amazing thing, and something should be cherished and celebrated. But just as pride is not for one day, but actually it's for the entire year, so is allyship. So don't think, I've got my badge, I'm done for the next year, I'll have to do it again next year, but that's about it. Do it every single day. Do the best you can every single day. Because that way we can love God, and we can love our neighbour as ourselves.